Well, I guess in this 21st century, when you mention about mindfulness, when you talk about mindfulness, it's become a universal mantra, I guess. It is kind of a quick fix for everything. I don't know whether it is a right or not, but seems like even there is a trend of looking at mindfulness as a mindfulness. It's become a more kind of a commercialized, business-oriented event. So when we think of the mindfulness as it really is, you have to look at from the different perspective. The one of the perspective is from the original idea, which was began by the time of the Buddha, by the Buddha himself, which is about 2,600 years ago. And that is kind of a mindfulness, I would say, it's a religious-oriented mindfulness. It is kind of a sacred-oriented mindfulness. But whereas in these few decades, let's say about 5 decades, not even 5 decades, we have been really hearing and we have been witnessing the boom of mindfulness from the Western point of view. Again, every Western scholar, although they say that it is based on the ancient wisdom which was 2,600 years ago, but they have westernized the whole idea of mindfulness in their own way. So when you look from the religious point of view, the mindfulness is simply what we call is one of the Eightfold Path, Eightfold Noble Path, what Buddha says, one of the crucial, what we call is heart of Buddhist teaching, which is called to be mindful or to be aware or not to be mindless in your normal daily life. But in terms of having the mindfulness from the Buddhist point of view, it is just not only the mind, it's a whole other agendas and things are hidden behind that mind. Mind itself not an independent agent. The mind itself is a creation of so many other things. There is in order to become a mind, you need to have a body, you need to have your senses, you need to have your knowledge, you need to have your concentrations, and so many other things. So from the Buddhist point of view, it is a whole, I would say that it is a whole aspect of who we are as a human, and then how do we react ourselves, how do we act ourselves in this world of normal living. So this is a kind of a whole life business, I guess. So this is mindfulness. Is something is very crucial in order to recognize who we are as a human. But in terms of a Western approach these days, 21st century, which has been more westernized, so in a way that it is become some kind of quick fix. It is kind of some kind of very handy work in order to fix your problem in your daily life. It's more kind of secular meaning. But whereas when you think of the secular side, and many Westerners have been using mindfulness now not only for a certain field of work or professions, but it has been very widespan from business to become, judges, in the lawyer, in the administrations. So everything you started to have that sort of a mindfulness in front as adjective. So you will have a mindful business, you have a mindful politics, you have a mindful CEO, you have a mindful monk even. So in a way that, even if you are thinking that your mind is a monkey, so it is have to be a mindful monkey then. So you have to jump around in a very mindful way. So this is what we have seen, the development of the genre of mindfulness from the 2,600 years to the modern approach of mindfulness. So you have a very two different meaning and understanding from the religious point of view and secular point of view. In Buddhist, the derivation of the word mindfulness in Buddhism is the word in Pali called sati, which means simply, it could be mean just memory, just a recollections, or just kind of a knowledge, and so many you can think. But however, the whole idea of a memory and recollections and knowledge is only meaningful when you are able to apply it, when you are able to acknowledge it. So there is a two idea of when we think of the mindfulness sati. So as a part of the very foundation, very grounding of your knowing and your feeling and your thinking, in your kind of recognizing, cognizing, all those things, that is a foundation. But however, in order to use that sati in a more beneficial way, you will need what we call sampajanya. It is called clear comprehension. It means that you need to able to draw out those memory when you need it. Generally, in many cases in our life, we can see that sometimes you know what it is, but you are not able to name it when you see it, and you are saying that, come on, what is that, what is that? So it is the what means that your sati, your mindfulness is not working. But however, in a more deeper way, the mindfulness is about the way how you develop your way of minding, way of thinking, way of who you are. And that is even deeper. In that sense, there is a whole discourse on what we call a satipatthana, foundation of mindfulness, and or even the greater foundation of mindfulness, Mahasatipatthana Sutta. So from this point of view, when you say that the mindfulness, it is talking about how you train your mind. So what I mean by mind is that how you train yourself to behave in your daily life. It is a mind, is not only the thinking of the mind. In Western idea, when you use the word mind, actually it is not the same as the Buddhist word called mana, or this is a Buddhist mind, in the Buddhist textual mind. I guess that we don't have such a good vocabulary to really replace the word Buddhist mind. Because when you use the word English mind is just thinking. In a way, you are minding. To be mindful is kind of thoughtful. So whereas the mind in Buddhism is something about kind of the reactions between your senses, that is eye, nose, mouth and ears, and your touching, with whatever you are seeing, what you are hearing. And then when your eyes kind of has a contact with the pictures, or kind of some color or whatever it is, let's say the pictures, and then how you make sense. So the whole process of being, using your senses, your eye senses, until you see the pictures or whatever the vision you are seeing it, and then you are able to make sense of what you have seen in a more, as it is. So as what it should be. But in many times we see that when you see something, we sometimes hardly see as it is, because we always see as we want to see, not as it's supposed to be. So if you see that, if you're a boy or girl, a handsome young man or young girl walking past by, we will immediately see not as a man or woman alone, but we will immediately add more adjective. He's a handsome, she's a beautiful. And then if you cannot control, if you can restrain your mind, it will more adjective, and then you are more actions and more speech and towards that. So that is the whole the mind whole idea. So when it is a training of the mind in Buddhism, that's why it says that you have to have a contemplation of the body. So it means that you know everything, every movement, everything what your body is reacting towards any outer senses. And then you need to have what you call is Vedananupassana, in the feeling, contemplation of feeling. Feeling means that whatever you are feeling, and then what is your reaction towards that? Like it or dislike it, and suffering, hot or cold, all those kind of reaction which you have seen through your body, you have connected to your body, and then that's another way of what you call Vedananupassana, contemplation of feeling. Then we have mental contemplation, Chittanupassana. Chittanupassana means that you are able to even what you call it, extend the idea of that, whether it is how you feel and then how you know that and all those things. And the fourth is Dhammanupassana, means that you are able to even judge that whatever you are seeing, it is beneficial or unbeneficial, it is skillful or unskillful. In the Buddhist term, actually, there is no such a kind of good or bad, which is a very, very common vocabulary we use in our secular world. But from Buddhist point of view, there is no such thing as a good and bad, because a good or bad is an adjective. It is a mental defilements in one way. So it is kind of how skillful or unskillful in a kind of in your life. So that is the whole idea of in a very brief, but mindfulness or sati from the Buddhist point of view, according to the Buddhist text. Yes, actually these two words sometimes can use synonymously, but however, if you want to really divide it, it has differences as well. When you say consciousness, it is just kind of awareness. It is just kind of a knowing, realize, kind of able to label, able to, when you see things and able to label that. Whether if you are seeing a white shirt, you are able to label it, this is a white shirt. That is to be conscious. But where come to the terms of a mindfulness, it is more than just conscious. It is just not only recognizing, it's mainly registrating, but it is more kind of you have a decision power. You have a power to make decision on that as well. Whether the white shirt is better for you or not, whether white shirt is appropriate for certain event or not. So you need to have a more kind of a more wide range of thinking in a deeper way that is just not recognizing, but you have a decision power over that. So that is a mindfulness, and that is a consciousness.